In the annals of history, Israel's significance in biblical predictions is notable. This video delves into these predictions, examining the potential role of current conflicts in Israel in eschatological narratives. Jerusalem, Israel's capital, is revered by many as a sacred city. Known as the City of Peace, its symbolic importance is profound. Mount Zion, home to the city's fortress, is traditionally believed to be the chosen site for God's temple, symbolizing his divine presence. Biblical texts, such as those by Solomon, emphasize Jerusalem and Zion as God's eternal sanctuary. The prophesied return of Jews to their ancestral lands, as mentioned by prophets including Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Amos, underscores its spiritual connection. Exploring Jerusalem in end-time predictions, ancient biblical prophecies suggest that end-time events would center around Jerusalem. In Zechariah 12:3 and 4, Jerusalem is metaphorically described as a cup causing surrounding nations to reel in conflict. The scriptures also foresee Israel's dispersion and eventual reunification, marking significant prophetic developments. The post-Holocaust reassembly of Israel is viewed by many as a catalyst for these prophecies. Ezekiel 37 and 38 depict an invasion of Israel from the north post-reunification, with some interpreting this as a reference to modern Russia, allied with Iran, ancient Persia. The Israel-Hamas conflict and its perceived connection to biblical prophecies. Observers, particularly among evangelical Christians, often link contemporary conflicts, such as the Israel-Hamas war, to biblical prophecies and the second coming of Christ. The re-establishment of Jewish communities in Palestine is seen as a key event, hastening this eschatological expectation. This belief, particularly potent among evangelicals since the interwar period, was amplified by the formation of modern Israel and its subsequent military victories, like the Six-Day War in 1967. Israel's triumphs, interpreted as divine intervention, have bolstered the belief in Israel's pivotal role in what is termed the final countdown. Jerusalem's prophetic importance. Jerusalem's deep significance in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam positions it at the heart of biblical prophecies. Revelation 6:18 presents Jerusalem as instrumental in establishing God's kingdom. Its historical prominence was solidified during the reigns of David and Solomon, especially with the Temple Mount, a site of paramount holiness. Remarkably, some prophecies related to Jerusalem and Israel, like the transformation of barren lands into fertile ones, have seemingly come to pass, with Israel now a pioneer in agricultural technology. The anticipated reconstruction of the Third Temple draws significant attention, viewed by some as fulfilling prophecies in Ezekiel and Daniel. Ezekiel chapters 40 to 48 offer a detailed vision of this temple, emphasizing its splendor and significance as God's dwelling. For many, rebuilding the temple is a herald of the Messiah's imminent arrival, as foretold by Hebrew prophets. Rebuilding the Third Temple is a complex endeavor, steeped in religious fervor and ideological motivations. The presence of the Dome of the Rock, a significant Islamic shrine built on the traditional site of Solomon's Temple, exacerbates the issue, fueling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Temple Mount, a critical point of contention, holds immense political and religious significance. Since the Temple movement's inception in 1987, efforts toward rebuilding have gradually advanced. The project garners support from a diverse spectrum of the Jewish community, including secular and Orthodox Jews. The latter group, viewing the project as a sacred undertaking, has resurrected the Sanhedrin to supervise the temple's reconstruction. This initiative stems from a deeply held belief that restoring the temple is crucial for reinvigorating the divine presence, Shekinah, and addressing spiritual and worldly challenges. The Sanhedrin has taken significant measures to prepare for the Third Temple's eventual establishment. Key initiatives include the planting of the temple forest, designed to support the temple's agricultural requirements, and efforts to breed the sacred red heifer, essential for ritual purification as described in Numbers 19. Rabbi Richmond, a member of the Sanhedrin, leads the Red Heifer Project. Additionally, the temple movement conducts ceremonial reenactments to train the priestly Kohanim, encompassing education in priestly roles, use of ritual objects, and practice on a specially designed altar. This altar, built for easy assembly and disassembly, aligns with the requirement to construct it on the original Mount Moriah site. Another significant development is the rediscovery of the method for producing biblical crimson dye, vital for the high priest's garments and the temple's curtain. Professor Zohar Amar's research on the Tolat Shani worm has been pivotal in this rediscovery. As temple preparations continue, the necessity of political maneuvering becomes apparent. Reversing the current Muslim governance of the Temple Mount and securing Jewish access are critical objectives. The water libation ceremony, a significant and symbolic event, highlights this aspect. The ceremony features a procession from Shiloh to the Gihon Spring, led by Kohanim and Levites with musical accompaniment. The event culminates near the western wall, marked by the sounding of silver trumpets and the priestly blessing. Additionally, the Hoshana Rabbah ceremony, significant in oral tradition, was observed. This ceremony, part of the joyous Sukkot festival, involves a 15-hour ritual in the temple, with celebrations extending overnight. It attracts global pilgrims for international worship. The water libation, a central Sukkot rite, symbolizes purification and tradition, with Kohanim drawing water from the Siloam spring and pouring it alongside wine onto the temple altar. The Siloam pool, historically and biblically important, serves as a pilgrimage starting point during biblical feasts. Biblical prophecies, notably in Genesis and Revelation, predict a cataclysmic event termed Armageddon, believed to be a massive conflict on Israeli soil. This confrontation, sometimes equated to a Third World War in scriptural interpretations, is expected to draw in global powers and culminate in the rise of a dominant ruler over earth. The ongoing Israel-Hamas strife is often seen by believers as a sign of these end-time prophecies, particularly relating to the reassembling of Jewish people in their homeland. The creation of Israel in 1948 and subsequent regional conflicts are viewed by some as aligning with these ancient foretellings. Current Middle Eastern tensions, compounded by Iran's stance on Israel and its nuclear pursuits, provoke concerns about the potential realization of these apocalyptic biblical prophecies. Jerusalem's spiritual prominence. In the Bible, Jerusalem is depicted as a city of immense spiritual importance, identified as the site for God's temple on Mount Zion. Scriptures like 2 Chronicles 6:6 and Psalm 132, 13-14 emphasize Jerusalem as God's chosen location and enduring dwelling. The establishment of modern Israel, catalyzed by the persecution and suffering of the Jewish people during World War II and the Holocaust, marked a significant phase in the quest for a safe Jewish homeland. The Jewish diaspora's migration to Palestine played a pivotal role in shaping Israel's societal, economic, and cultural fabric. The establishment of Israel is perceived by some believers as a spiritual renaissance for the Jewish people, fulfilling biblical promises and symbolizing the return to their ancestral faith. Scriptural references, such as in Ezekiel 37 and prophecies from Jeremiah and Isaiah, speak of a divine gathering of the Jewish people from across the globe and their restoration to prosperity and a close relationship with God. This event is also viewed as a manifestation of God's covenant with Abraham regarding the everlasting inheritance of the land of Canaan. Jerusalem in biblical prophecy. Jerusalem's role in biblical prophecy is significant, as seen in texts like Zechariah 8:3, which speaks of God's return to Zion and residence in Jerusalem. The city is mentioned in end-time scenarios involving attacks by nations and demands for worship by the Antichrist. These events are interpreted as signs of the approaching end of days and the anticipated return of the Lord. Zechariah 14:3 and 4 foretell of the Lord's intervention against these nations, standing on the Mount of Olives near Jerusalem. Historically, the city gained religious significance during the reigns of David and Solomon and remains a revered site in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, with the Temple Mount being a central focal point. Jerusalem and Israel hold a profound place in the hearts of the faithful, marked by the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. The revival of Israel's once barren lands and the potential reconstruction of the Third Temple are seen as manifestations of these prophecies. The transformation of Israel's arid landscape into a fertile agricultural hub is one such prophecy realized. Ancient texts, like Zechariah 8:12, foretold of a time when Israel's land would flourish, producing abundant crops and fruit. This has come to fruition through modern agricultural technologies, including drip irrigation and the development of drought-resistant crops, which have turned the once desolate land into a thriving agricultural center. Another significant prophecy involves the rebuilding of the Third Temple, as detailed in biblical books like Ezekiel and Daniel. Ezekiel's vision describes a future temple of grandeur and divine presence, while Daniel hints at its future desecration. The discussion of rebuilding the Third Temple is steeped in religious significance, seen as a key element in God's covenant and a herald of the Messiah's coming. The Third Temple's concept resonates deeply with both Jews and Christians. For Jews, it represents redemption and a central worship place, aligning with their covenant with God. Christians' views on the Third Temple vary. Some see it as crucial in end-times prophecy, while others focus on the new covenant, with the believer's body and community as the new temple. In Judaism, the Third Temple is tied to eschatological beliefs and the anticipation of the Messiah, expected to bring peace and resume ancient rituals. The plan to rebuild the Third Temple, however, is fraught with political challenges due to its proposed location on the Temple Mount, a site revered by both Jews and Muslims. The Temple Mount, where the Dome of the Rock stands, has been a historical point of contention. While Israel maintains security control, Jordan's Islamic Waqf oversees daily activities. This delicate balance underscores the intricate interplay of religion and politics at this historically contentious site. After a significant earthquake, archaeological excavations near the Temple Mount unearthed evidence of the Second Temple's presence. Among the finds were a staircase and a mikveh, a Jewish ritual bath, which reinforced the historical ties of the Jewish community to the Temple Mount during that period. The Temple Institute and other researchers have made fascinating discoveries and preparations related to the Third Temple. Archaeologist Robert Hamilton discovered coins from the Second Temple era and remnants of a Byzantine mosaic, adding historical depth to the Temple Mount's narrative. The question of whether Islam will relinquish control of the Temple Mount for the Third Temple's construction remains unanswered. Nonetheless, Jewish determination persists. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem focuses on the temple's reconstruction, creating replicas of the golden menorah, incense altar, showbread table, and the copper laver. They have also recreated the high priest's garments, essential for temple rituals. The red heifer, vital for purification before building the Third Temple, has seen unique contributions, including donations from a Christian group, to meet biblical criteria. The Temple Institute recently revived the water libation ceremony, a significant tradition. Led by Rabbi Yisrael Ariel and other prominent rabbis, the ceremony involved a procession through Jerusalem's Old City, with participants dressed in biblical attire and playing ancient musical instruments. The ceremony, tracing historical paths and culminating at the Gihon Spring, symbolized the life-giving libation with water from the Shiloh pool. A model altar on the mountaintop marked the ceremony's endpoint, observed near the western wall for about 15 hours. This event, a blend of education and anticipation for the Third Temple, offered participants a connection to past traditions and hope for the future. Among various prophecies regarding Jerusalem, the Antichrist's emergence is particularly foreboding. Described in texts like Daniel, Thessalonians, and Revelation, the Antichrist is envisioned as a deceitful, opposing force to God, aspiring for global rule and symbolizing a period of chaos. This figure, masquerading as a peacemaker, seeks to divert people from God through astonishing acts, establishing a worldwide regime, demanding worship, and persecuting the faithful during the Great Tribulation. Prophecies indicate the Antichrist will forge and then break a covenant with Israel, leading to unparalleled turmoil. While current events resonate with these prophecies, their complete fulfillment remains a topic of future expectation. So, what do you think of these shocking Bible prophecies in Israel? The moment is finally here. Are you terrified? Comment below.